Welcome to the Rad Dad Redemption Podcast. Here's your hosts, Drew and Dex.
Welcome back to the basement.
Yarg! Welcome back to the Pirate Podcast. Yarg! There it is.
Nailed it.
Welcome back to Grateful Dead Podcast. We're so excited to be back here.
Just a couple deadheads.
All you groovy dudes.
Do you like that cup?
I do. I like the margarita that's in it.
Yeah.
If you would have told me, like the timeline from my birthday party last night.
Which was a great party.
It was a ton of fun.
You did great on the barbecue.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. My wife had actually gone and bought like breaded chicken. And I was like, go throw this in a dumpster. Like, I'm getting the smoker out. Everyone's coming for my burgers, my chicken, little glizzy. Yeah, it was great. But I just did the thing. Where you just like, I'm not really going to socialize. I'm going to just like stand by my grill and kind of like be a part of passing conversations and just tuned in cans. So by the time I sat down, as far as I'm concerned, like the party was 5 minutes ago. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah, for context, it's Sunday morning.
Yeah. We're supposed to be doing a morning show. Like
We thought we'd be like sharp.
Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I'm a mess.
Not so.
No, you look good.
I guess I'm fine.
Yeah.
Although I got these cut waters yesterday that I left at your house, and I took the first sip of one, and I was like, ooh, that's kind of strong.
Yeah.
And they're 12.5%.
I don't know how these are legal. It's an 8-pack, right?
Yeah.
12.5%. They're cans of wine, essentially.
Pretty much.
And that was the end of my night last night. I'd been drinking, and then I was like, oh, and now I'm going to drink this methanol.
I had two of them, and I looked at Alicia, and I was like, I'm running back last weekend because I got absolutely piled at the wedding we were at.
Oh, how was it? How was the
It was
wedding?
good. It was a great wedding.
That was a cousin's wedding.
Yeah, I got very drunk.
Nice. Weren't you the MC?
Yeah.
Were you drunk on air?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about that. Come on.
That was
highlights.
Well, so they got married at the Nanton Golf Course.
Oh, sick.
And they got married on hole 14. And so they brought out the beer cart, and there was like
best wedding ever.
Yeah, open beer cart at the ceremony. And so while I was waiting for the ceremony to start, I had like 2 drinks.
I grabbed my 4-iron.
Practice a few shots.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then after the ceremony was over, we were kind of mingling before we went to the community hall for the actual reception. And I had another drink or two. I think I had another drink. And then went to the reception hall, and they had pineapple White Claws, and I was like, all right, load me up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was fun.
Did you rip anybody? Any good jokes? Did you cross the line? Did you toe the line?
I toed the line.
Yeah.
I did rip on my cousins a bit because, like, I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was good.
And didn't you said you did a bit of stand-up? Like
they asked me to do stand-up, and I immediately I was like, yeah, for sure, I'd love to. And then I thought, I have to say, like, all this in front of our family.
What bit did you go with?
I talked about my wife.
Squirtopia mattress pad?
Yeah. No, I did jokes about my wife, which she thought was hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, she didn't. I don't think she actually
thought
it was funny.
She didn't like it?
No.
Just ragging on being married? Like, just
yeah,
like
pretty much that's what it was.
Decision
yeah.
you could make?
Yeah.
That's not true. We're so lucky to be married.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
I got up, and there was like a bottle of pre-made iced tea and like Advil and Tylenol, and I was like, did I do this? Like, no, of course I didn't.
Yeah. Well, your wife is a nurse. Like,
yeah.
Process.
There was an IV at a. I was plugged in. Oh god.
Have you ever had those like rehydrating IVs where they come to your house?
I haven't. They're expensive.
Yeah, we did that down. I think we talked about it on the podcast like a year ago. We did it for Matt's bachelor party.
That's bougie. Does it actually did it start you back up?
I wasn't as hurting as the other guys, and I honestly think like I just immediately pissed out any additional vitamins and water that I got from that IV.
What's in it? Like
it's like vitamins,
saline solution, yeah. Red Bull.
But there is a few guys. It was funny because you could tell how dehydrated you were by how fast that IV drained into your arm, and so like they plugged me in first, and I was the last one done.
You were hydrated.
I was hydrated.
Yeah.
But there's one guy, he had been like pretty drunk the night before, and they plugged in his IV, and it was just like a stream. Like it wasn't like drip, drip, drip. It was just like
he's peeing as it's coming in.
Oh, it was crazy, and he just drained that thing faster than anybody, and he was one of the last guys to get hooked up. So
I needed that this morning. I almost I could have done like a coffee enema. Like that's why I was like, I'll do anything.
Do those work, or is that just like one of those fads online? Because you're shooting coffee up your ass. Like that can't be good.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience.
We need a doctor.
Yeah.
To come on and like fact check some of the shit we say.
I don't know, a vodka tampon, that'll do the trick. Put this in your south mouth. Get ready. That's what these are. That's what these Cutwaters are.
Vodka.
This is a vodka.
It's a
You
vodka
open it
tampon.
up and it's just Tampax and a fucking Mickey of Everclear. That's honestly what it felt like.
I can't say I'm familiar with what that feeling is, but
Come on. You've never soaked a tampon in vodka and put it into your pooper?
no.
You're shitting me. You're looking at me. You're dead ass. Okay, what? Come on, man. Yeah, great time. But no, coffee enema. I can't imagine. Like, I mean, I think like your intestines, like super. What do you call it?
Like absorbent?
Yeah, absorbent.
Yeah.
I was gonna say malleable, probably.
Also.
So like, yeah, but it's at the end of your digestion. So like, I don't know. I don't even know how that works. I feel
Well,
like
it's like if you were to use a vodka tampon or butt chug. Like,
yeah, butt chug.
Is it like, remember that old show on Spike TV,
Butt
like
water.
1,000 Ways to Die?
Oh, I was thinking of the YouTube clip, butt water.
No, 1,000 Ways to Die on Spike TV.
Yeah, I have seen that.
And there's that one episode with the guy who's a severe alcoholic and he like can't drink through his mouth for whatever reason anymore. So his wife helps him out by pouring vodka up his ass.
Best wife ever.
Yeah, but then he dies of alcohol poisoning even though she only poured like half a fifth of vodka in his ass because it's so absorbent.
Look, I'm trying to think.
I feel like there's a better word for that.
It's a permeable membrane,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what happens.
He died of alcohol poisoning.
Okay.
From like a comparatively small amount. So like, I feel like your usual cup of coffee that wakes you up in the morning, I don't know if you want that in your ass.
But it has to work. I think like it must be a thing.
Well, but I don't know. People do a lot of things that don't work and they still do them.
Yeah, like swishing avocado oil and stuff. Like, I'm detoxing. It's
I'm oil pulling.
Oil pulling. That is.
Yeah.
I almost said the word I'm not allowed to say. That's silly. But yeah, no, not to get too technical, but your poop is just like rolling around in your intestines, right? And it's pulling out all the good stuff, right? That's how it works. It's like a poop dryer. It's just tumbling around in there, and it's like getting everything it can.
I'm gonna go back to what I said just a couple minutes earlier.
We
we need a doctor on this show, like just a one permanently on staff.
So you shoot. Oh yeah, we got the funds for that on retainer. Fuck, we don't even have a tech guy.
Yeah, no, we need a doctor on retainer just to like chime in and be like, actually, that's incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't even add. He just fact checks us.
Yeah, he just like he raises his hand when it is. He'd have a lot to do.
Oh, he'd be busy.
Yeah,
yeah. We could just roll on with misinformation, and he could just.
If there's any doctors listening,
yeah, how many doctors do you think?
0, because There's
That's not our demographic.
I think that the Venn diagram of people with IQs high enough to like.
Don't insult
be a
our
doctor.
listener base. You guys are all intelligent. We love you. Thank you for listening. And all you doctors who are big fans, you guys got free time. You got time to burn. Come on the show and let us know what happens when you put coffee in your poop hole.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not in your poop. Man, I'm hungover. Just mixing that.
Should we move on?
Yeah. Hey, welcome back to the Pirate Podcast.
we
Mix coffee.
You know what's exciting?
We got mailbag.
We got mailbags.
Play that fucking jingle.
Mailbag time, motherfucker.
This is cool. It's live. This is brand new.
I know. We purchased the pod track.
Yeah.
And we've never actually utilized the.
We don't need a tech guy. We don't need a doctor.
Buttons.
We're ready.
Yeah, I put it on. Literally did it this morning.
Okay, good for you.
We're using all the buttons. Anyway, okay, 2 mailbags.
Lay it on me.
First one. Now this came in like a month ago. We didn't address it on the last episode, but
we had it's been sitting for a month.
Almost a month. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's from your brother, former podcast guest,
Dr. Hoover.
Dr. Hoover. He said, "Don't put coffee in your butt." No. Boys, thank you for your continuing coverage of the informed incompetence infecting our provincial government. I imagine Drew will soon be looking to acquire another Chevrolet Beauville to build a roving studio as you dodge a slap from those you have exposed. which is a throwback to your van.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. I was saying that more for the listeners, I
Joe's
guess.
van, yeah.
I was like, yeah, you got a van.
The van.
As much as I enjoy the political theater, what truly engaged me in your most recent pod was Dex's assertion that Blake Coleman leads the league in disallowed goals. And I think it was like a very light assertion. It was like, that's my feeling.
He did not like that. Yeah.
I think I said that's my feeling.
I feel like, yeah.
Anyway, I don't watch every game on TV every night.
See, he's fact checking us.
1, the Flames can shove it. Fair. 2,
Yeah, fuck those guys.
as per scouting the refs. So Joe, when he heard me say this and he's like, "Oh, I've got to go do research. I've got to do a deep dive."
Yeah.
You took it way too serious, Joe. It's not that serious. The Flames don't even crack the top 18 teams for goals overturned on Coach Challenge this season. And to be fair, I was going back a couple seasons, but all right. And then quoting Drew's hero, Elliot Friedman, if you go to the blue paint on your own, it's on you. And then 5, the Flames lost in 2004. It's called Science. And then there's also a link to another article. Drew, make sure the van has a trailer hitch. That's the end of the email. I will say this to Joe. I'm not allowed to come at you because he works with my wife. And so I could create an HR issue for my wife if I...
Do it.
No. So
stoke
I'm
the
gonna
fire.
I'm going to leave it there. But I feel like he took it way too serious.
That's a great email. The Flames...
The research was... Listen, I'm talking about my feelings.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for the email, Joe.
Thank you for the email, Joe. That was a great email. Well researched.
Yes, with links.
Yeah, the Flames are terrible. Coleman is not despite Dex's feelings, the leader in disallowed goals. And the van. You never came on a van trip.
No, because that was when I was living abroad. And by abroad, I mean either Fort McMurray or Medicine
You were
Hat.
traveling. You were getting cultured. Oh, man. We, listeners... At one point in time, we bought a van for $1, a literal loony.
So you know it was good.
Yeah, it was a guy my brother worked with, and this is a 100% true story. There's going to be no doctor fact check here. They had a Christian rock group, and that was their tour bus. That was they'd taken all the seats out, they're going around spreading the good word, and then they just parked it in a garage, and then over time just filled that garage with everything you can imagine. It was a TLC episode. It was fucking wild. Shit under it, shit on top of it, shit beside it, shit in it. And this dude was like, if you can get the van out of the garage, if you can manage that, I will sell it to you for nothing. A literal loony bill of sale. And so we went to this guy's house, pulled up, got this van out, got it started, and that was the tip of the iceberg. We drove that thing to fucking Seattle, down through Idaho, we took it to Vancouver. And it had no seats. So we went to fucking Pick and Pull. And we just ripped out the front bench seat of a K truck, a bench seat from an E series. And Sean Cook, who's an actual real man, had all the mag drills and power tools. We just went to his farm and just bolted this shit in. We always said it was if we ever got in an accident, the good thing is that we would all die instantly.
So nobody would have any guilt, survivor's guilt.
Yeah, it would just end for us. And then we I think there was 6 of us or 7 of us on the trip. And so we had 2 seats in the front, the K truck seats, and then the E series. And then we picked out a middle seat, one singular middle seat from a fucking Ford Ranger. And we put it in the very back, and we just called it Landon's seat. It was just that's where Landon's gonna sit. I could do a whole podcast on the van. I could do a van life podcast. Amazing throwback, Joe. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for the stats. The Flames, absolute pieces of garbage.
Okay.
They're not playing hockey right now. They're just getting coffee enemas.
Yeah.
Right? They're getting ready for next season.
Signing their RFAs.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Next email came in last night. So presumably after some bevies at the old birthday party.
I was already asleep.
From a dedicated listener, Nikki. Hey guys, really appreciate your well-rounded opinions on the most important issues that affect us today, like coffee enemas. I inserted that last part.
You said let's get off that. We've already thrown it back 8 times. Oh, yarg.
Can't wait for the post-Canadian election podcast, and I'm dying to hear who you voted for and why. Please dedicate at least 60 minutes to breaking down who you voted for and why. I'm also assuming both of you voted, because I can't imagine a world where you didn't. There would be nothing worse than not voting. Excited for the next episode. XO Nikki.
I feel like she's got some insider info.
So first of all, asking me who I voted for, well, that's a democratic right between me and the ballot box, Nikki. You might as well ask me to post a dick pic on our Rad Dad.
Yeah, that's
socials.
personal. I'm trying to tell you about putting stuff in my ass. You're asking me all these personal questions. I feel like that was a bit. I like the email. It's a little. Is it facetious? The right word? She's like, you guys are just gonna fucking be long-winded and talk about nothing.
Yeah,
how dare you?
Like, please dedicate at least 60 minutes to breaking down who you voted for and why.
We're very good at doing things after they happened, right?
Yeah.
Because we had talked about doing the election special, and I think you had sick kids, and I was also like, I've got nothing to add. Like we're gonna talk about this.
And you know what? I was talking about it with
After.
my wife, and she's like, it's probably better you guys did an after one because then you don't have to be like wrong about a lot of things.
Yeah, we were gonna be right.
I think we were going to be right.
Okay, Dex, who'd you vote for?
I'm not. That's between me and the ballot
You're not
box.
gonna fucking say?
No.
You're kidding.
Here's my reasoning.
All right.
If I say there will be one group of people who are like, oh, I feel validated.
Oh yeah,
by
if you
this.
say the wrong thing, I'm quitting the podcast.
Yeah, there would be a group of people that are like, I feel validated by who you voted for. And then there would be a group of people who are like, why would you do that to our country?
You're a libertarian.
Yeah, I voted PBC. And also, quite frankly, in our riding, it doesn't matter. We'll get into that. Okay, should we get into the politics? Do you want to share who you voted for?
Yeah, well, she's calling me out. I didn't vote.
No, you didn't.
I'm a piece of shit.
Not that it really mattered.
And
You are a piece of shit, though.
I am a huge piece of
You
shit.
know,
We
like,
just lost a ton of listeners.
Soldiers fought
yeah,
on the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah,
So
everywhere.
that you didn't have to suck Hitler's dick.
Respect. Yeah, thanks for doing that, guys. Yeah, I don't know. It was a busy day. It was my actual birthday. Talk about
What better way to celebrate?
talk about putting a guy out. And I guess, every vote counts. It would have affected the popular vote overall. But in our riding, it's a landslide. It's a landslide. It is not even fucking close. And it's never been close. And I was just like, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the real politics talk now, and I'm going to play our politics jingle. It's a show filled with jingles today.
Okay.
Jingle all the way.
Let's hit it.
It's politics time on the Rad Dad Redemption Podcast.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
I'm going to bang a porn star in the Oval Office to fight back against the woke mob.
Tonight, we are once again reminded that America can do whatever we set our mind to. That is the story of our history.
I think Rad Dad Redemption does the best political commentary there is. Jamie, pull up that video of two gorillas jacking each other off.
Where's Olivia Gondak? It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life to her. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home.
That's the first time. So these jingles, for context.
No context needed. No context needed.
I always edit them in afterwards. Like, it's usually like, play that jingle, and I don't have a jingle made.
Yeah, we have to use our imaginations.
And so I edit them in afterwards. I finally put them onto the pod track. We play, and so we're like looking at each other, giggling the whole time while that was
Yeah,
playing.
you can hear me laugh. I like it.
My wife said that politics time one is too long.
Yeah, well, she's wrong. That's a bad take.
Good. I'm glad we've established that. Okay, it's been basically a week since the election.
For 7 days,
Yeah.
different landscape.
A lot has changed, but here's a few stats. Before we get into like the post-mortem of the Canadian election, because that's what people came here for. We're like CBC at issue if they did coffee enemas and vodka tampons.
Yeah, we're just like them. They do.
They probably do. Andrew Coyne loves vodka tampons.
Okay, lay it on me.
Cease and desist incoming. Okay, 19.5 million people voted. One of them was not Drew.
Okay,
Representing 68.65% of eligible voters. So, like, you're not alone in that. Like, a good 32% of eligible voters didn't go out.
I know the thing. Like, you don't vote. You can't complain, right? But I pay taxes. I'm part of the system.
Fair
okay,
enough.
I exercise my right to not vote.
Liberals end with a strong minority of 169 seats. Now, if you were still being recounted, so that could change, Conservatives at 143, Bloc Québécois at 23 seats. NDP loses official party status down to 7 seats, and Green Party wins 1 seat. We kind of mentioned this in our local foothills riding. Conservative incumbent John Barlow won with 76.2% of the vote. So,
JB,
realistically, whether you were going to go vote for John or someone else, it didn't fucking matter.
It didn't matter.
It was a landslide. Nationally, leaders had a mixed night. So Prime Minister Carney, Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet, and Green Party leader Elizabeth May were the only party leaders to win their ridings. Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, and Maxime Bernier, which I almost didn't want to include Maxime Bernier with the rest of them because it's not a real party. They all lost their seats.
Which is kind of crazy.
It is crazy. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but especially Poilievre. Jagmeet Singh announced he'll step down as NDP leader once they find an interim leader. Pierre Poilievre has said he's staying on as Conservative leader. And lastly, Mark Carney has said, obviously because it's a minority government, he will not enter a formal agreement with the NDP like we saw under Justin Trudeau to support bills and get them passed.
But he will with the Bloc, and already has come out and said that
he would do a formal supply agreement.
He did, like they're working together.
Yeah, he's gonna have to work with somebody to get bills passed.
Yes,
but I think he's saying I'm not going to do a formal agreement. And I think his idea is, if I want this type of bill passed, I'm going to go to the NDP or maybe the Bloc. If I want this type of bill passed, maybe I'll go to the Conservatives. Whoever will support my certain types of bills, I don't want a formal agreement where I have to be beholden to the demands of a smaller party.
Oh, he's playing it fast and loose. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew he was the right guy. That's why he got my vote. That's why he got your vote. That's why he got your vote.
Hypothetically. Yeah. So, okay. Poilievre.
Does not... They're actually kind of interesting. So he did not win in his riding,
which he held for the last 8 elections prior.
Yeah, but there was some shenanigans there. Like the list on the ballot. Like, did you see the number of names?
Yes.
Like
that's a protest group, but yeah. I still don't think that mattered.
Like it wouldn't have drawn enough to
no, because even if you took every vote from all of the other candidates, including major parties like the NDP, gave them to Pierre Poilievre, he still doesn't beat the Liberal.
Interesting.
So that's where I'm like, when people are like, oh, the ballot was too big, and I'm like, well, you still look for Pierre's name and vote for him. Like, if we're suggesting that the electorate is so stupid that they saw this big ballot and they're like, fuck it, and just checked off the first name.
There's so many names.
Then honestly, like that's I don't buy that excuse.
Okay, all right, I'll shut the fuck up.
Well, I've heard that from many people. That was me shutting that down.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that's a real excuse.
It is a little embarrassing. I think it's a resounding like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And now he's got someone in Alberta actually.
Yeah. So I wrote this down. Damien Currick of MP for Battle River Crowfoot, who originally won in 2019. He stepped down so that Poilievre can run in that riding in a by-election, which Mark Carney has said he will call as soon as possible. And that riding went 82% Conservative and was the 3rd highest percentage for Conservatives in the entire country. So they're not taking any chances.
No.
They're like,
come to Alberta.
Yeah, they're like, come to True Blue Alberta, run in Battle River Crowfoot, which I think includes the outskirts of Red Deer all the way down to Drumheller.
Oh yeah, he's got Pat King.
Yeah. So I don't think he's and rumor is that a lot of other parties won't even run anybody against him.
Okay.
They're like, because they would have to pay a bunch of money to like run in the by-election.
Yeah, they got a campaign against them.
They got a campaign. You got to get signatures and stuff like that.
I think they're just not even vote. Yeah, like who cares?
They're just not even going to bother because they know that he's going to get potentially even more than Damien Currick. Because I imagine some Conservatives will be very excited to be able to vote for Pierre Poilievre directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like touching God.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. So, he could conceivably come out of that riding if they don't run any opposition. He could come out with like 90+% of the vote easily,
which I guess is cool. But I mean, like I said, the fact that he lost in his own riding is kind of like, oh,
he's just getting like parachuted into a safe riding now, so he can get back in Parliament.
And so what happens to the dude stepping down? I always wondered that. Like, is he like, okay, down the road, if you get elected, like, is he going to get some minister position? Like they're going to...
Well, but like he's not in Parliament now, so like what's he going to do? Like
it's a big ask.
Do they pay him out or something? Yeah, because like you're giving up, potentially 4 years of an MP salary.
There has to be something. Like, he's getting something.
Yeah.
Unlimited vodka tampons.
With Andrew Coyne.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I thought that was interesting. Like, how do you decide? Obviously he came forward and was like, I'm going to do this for you. Like, put the party first.
So, you know what? Maybe he was like, I'm not like I would like to fall on this sword. Maybe he's got other businesses. I know like a lot of these MPs, they don't, unlike Pierre Poilievre, who was an MP since he was like 19, they don't just do politics their entire lives. Like maybe he's got some businesses or something. He's like, no, I can fall back on my business. I make just as much as I did as an MP, maybe more.
I have to assume it's coming back around. Like I don't think he.
You got to think there's something. Yeah,
there's a backroom deal for sure.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they're like, well, first person that steps down in the or decides not to run in the next election, like you get their shot.
Do you think they all just touch their noses?
You think it had to be like somewhere safe. They're like, we cannot have Poilievre lose another one.
Man,
that would be like.
What do you think? What do you think happens then? You know,
I think at that point they have to like the conversation's already starting about what they do with Poilievre. Like, do they keep him on as leader?
Yeah.
If it happened twice and one of them was in Alberta, it'd be like, okay, like you're toxic to the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Unlikely. Zero chance.
I think 0% chance he's not back in Parliament. But there's a timeline, right? So Carney has said, yeah, I'll call the by-election right away to get you back in Parliament. But I guess the MP can't officially resign his seat until 30 days after the election. And then, so that puts us into, basically end of May here.
And what are the implications for Poilievre during that time? Like
he's not, so they have to find an interim leader in the House of Commons.
Yeah, so he's not there. He's not going in.
And then basically so let's say, they call the by-election as soon as they can, which will be end of this month. Then there's going to be the actual election period. So the by-election won't happen until I think it was like end of June or early July, something like that. And then the House of Commons goes on summer break, July and August.
Yeah, these fucking guys.
So he wouldn't be back in the House of Commons until the fall at the earliest, which is the leader of the major opposition party is like, I don't know. He basically has to do what Nenchi's doing right now, like doing speeches outside the legislature.
Just spreading the good word. How many seats in Alberta were not blue? Was it 2? You had Corey Hogan.
You had one in Calgary, went for the Liberals. One in Edmonton went for the Liberals, and one in Edmonton went for the NDP. I think it was just 3.
3, okay. Because it was kind of a crazy election that way. Like there was a lot of change. And I think the Conservatives, even though they are not in power, like they had a major uptick. It was the fact that the NDP essentially got wiped off the map. The Bloc lost, I think, 11 seats. Green lost, I think they had 3, and now they're down to 1. Like the representation, like it was just blue and red. It
very much was like 2-party American style.
It was election. American style, yeah. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of NDP voters obviously went Liberal. To try and kind of consolidate that center left vote. I think I imagine some of those NDPers probably had to hold their nose to do that because like Mark Carney is very much a centrist. Like I know a lot of people want to use pretty negative rhetoric about him, about how liberal he is, but like he is very much like he's definitely right of Trudeau and the Liberal Party of the last 10 years.
Yeah, he's your boy. That's why you voted for him. I'm gonna get it out of you.
Yeah.
You'll never tell.
Never. It's between me and the ballot box. What if I just reveal that I just threw my vote away and I voted like independent or something?
Megan, actually, I can't do that. I can't out people. That's the thing. I wanted to be like, my wife did this, but
so she voted.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's a good person.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost some listeners. I'm sorry. I don't know. It's my civic responsibility. I believe in voting. It just didn't happen, and I wasn't incentivized enough. I was like, it's not going to move the needle. I don't care.
Do you think that they should try and increase voter numbers by doing what other countries do? Like, for example, Australia, it's a national holiday. They just had their election yesterday, actually. So they do it on weekends.
And they moved a ton, right? They're like
their Conservative party lost.
Yeah. Anti-Trump.
Well, that's pretty much what's happening. Is like people are kind of pushing back against the Trump vibes. But anyway, Australia, I could be wrong, but I think it's compulsory to vote in Australia.
Really?
Like they do all of, and I think you can be fined a very small amount. It's not much. It's like $50 if you don't vote.
50 AUS.
Yeah.
50 didgeridoo kangaroo jumpy jip chops.
50. What do they call them on? What do they call them on Bluey? Dollary-doos?
Dollary-doo.
Oh no, that's The Simpsons. Yeah, I maybe a fact check coming in, but I'm pretty sure there's compulsory voting in Australia, but the fine is very minimal. And
take your boomerang away.
Yeah. Just a lot of Australian stereotypes.
I don't know anything about Australia, to be honest.
And then, but it's a national holiday, so you have no excuse not to vote, right? Like here, I can understand why some people have trouble with voting. I mean, they make it easier with advanced polls and stuff, but you know, if you're let's say you're up north working Fort Mac, 2 weeks on, you could potentially miss all the advanced polls and your local poll. And they don't make it easy. Like there's no allotted time off to do that.
I could have easily advance voted on the day of, it's a regular work day. It's a Monday. At the end of the day, because I was in Mexico, I had belated parent-teacher interviews. So I had to stay. I was at work till 6 o'clock, get home. It's my birthday. Had dinner with my family. Couple cans. It's 8 o'clock. I'm like, whatever. I don't give a shit. Like I'm watching the news. I'm watching the votes come in.
And it was already
it was decided.
It was decided before even our polls closed.
So I'm gonna go walk across the Centennial and be like, yeah, here's one for green. Like who gives a shit? And that is what I would have done. I often spoil my ballot or vote for like this guy seems cool. Like it's it's futile.
I was standing there and I was about to check off Green Party, so I'll reveal to you now that I didn't vote Green Party.
What?
But I was gonna do it because
you're
I was
such a whale wars type guy. You're such a
honestly Green Party. Like I think Green Party gets a bad rep as like this super liberal party. Green Party, if you look at their platform, they're just conservatives who like recycling.
Yeah,
that's all the Green Party is. I'm actually shocked that they don't get more votes in Alberta because they are just conservatives with more of an environmental slant.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a stigma for sure.
Yeah, I think because there's Green Parties in other countries that are very left wing, like. Yeah, blow up the whale hunting boats and burn down the oil refineries. But
oh yeah, put Greta on the ballot. Like
yeah.
Look out.
In Canada, the Green Party is pretty conservative, other than their environmental stance. Which I don't even think that should necessarily be a conservative or liberal thing. But now we're getting off topic.
No, but this is on brand. This is if they you want to get off topic. If they made it a holiday, and then like with your advanced ballot card, they sent you like a little. At-home coffee enema package, little IV bag, like just anything you can, like really entice me, make me want to vote. I need to have a good day.
So to go back to Australia, I feel like they do their elections right. They have what's called election, I forget what, it's like an election grill or something. They have a better name for it. But basically outside of every polling station, there's barbecues.
Oh, shrimp on the bobby.
Yeah, or you get like a hot dog or something, get a glizz. And it's all for charity, right? So you go and you pay your $1 and it's for charity, but it's right outside the polling station, so it's almost an extra incentive. You go, donate your dollar to the food bank, get a hot dog, vote, you got the day off, hang out with your family the rest of the day. I mean, that seems like how we should run elections.
Yeah.
We should lower barriers for people to vote.
Go to the beach, get attacked by a great white.
Yeah.
Punch a kangaroo. Just a bunch of Australian type shit. That actually, yeah. Make it a party. Make it fun to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and like that, and that's an opportunity for like I said, the food bank or somebody to set up a barbecue. But there's all these rules right now with Elections Canada about what you can and can't do on Election Canada ground, right? At a polling station. So maybe they need to loosen that up a little bit, make it more of a party.
It's their fault I didn't vote.
Yeah,
there was not enough glizzies.
Well, let's blame others.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You said you were watching the news as the results rolled in.
Yeah.
As I'm sure many people were. There was no hockey games on that night. They did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Did you see like Jamil Javani with his rant about Doug Ford?
No.
Okay. So Jamil Javani is a conservative MP. He's friends with JD Vance.
Nice.
Yeah, they went to university together.
They were both born of the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah. Actually, JD Vance looks like, well, you've seen all the memes where he's like turned into a child or whatever.
He was, what do they call him? The dumpster pail kids or whatever.
my favorite was with the Pope dying. When they had the picture of JD Vance standing over, but they had him like turned into like a Cabbage Patch Kid, like, and it's like, saw we for making you dead.
He was the last dude.
He was the last dude to see
the last dude to hang with him. Just grilling him for not wearing a suit.
Jamil Javani on the flip side of that looks like a gargoyle.
Okay.
He looks like an actual, like he should be hanging off the front of an old library.
And what was his take
so he
Ford?
Came out very hot against Doug Ford, saying like he didn't help us. He was insinuating that if anything he was helping the federal liberals. And And it was a big rant. It was like, Doug Ford is a liberal in disguise. He's been posting on Instagram with like memes of, Doug Ford ripping off his shirt and revealing like a liberal t-shirt underneath and stuff. Like, so there's some discontent in conservative circles in Canada right now, where I think you've got kind of these very center moderate conservatives like a Doug Ford, some of these Ontario conservatives who didn't want to get on board with the, Maple MAGA or whatever you want to call them, the convoyers. And Poilievre was kind of catering to that crew a little bit, right? And probably,
which was his downfall.
It was his downfall, right? Because it was working until Trump came in.
Yeah.
And then it very much stopped working.
It's a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah. I mean, fairly or unfairly, he did get associated with Trump, but he was using a lot of that Trump-style rhetoric, right? And so, anyway, Jamil Javani came out very hot against Doug Ford. Doug Ford's kind of trying to stay above the fray. Some people are saying maybe Doug Ford is gunning for a federal conservative run, potentially. And yeah, so there's a lot of people saying, I feel like most people are saying Poilievre should stay on as leader, but there's some people saying like maybe he's not the right guy. He lost his own fucking riding.
Yeah, I wonder about the party itself, those types of conversations, because you do have like those extremes in that party, right? They're talking about the moderates, but like that is the party that caters to, some pretty intense ideologies. Absolutely,
they're very much a big tent.
Yeah,
right. Like on the left, you've got your kind of center left liberals, and then you've got the NDP, which is to the left of them. So you've got some choice, right? If you're a left winger, true, you can go vote NDP. If you're kind of more center of the road, you can go vote liberal. Whereas on the right, you're kind of limited.
Yeah,
you got conservatives, or you can vote Green, throw your vote away,
like you. Yeah,
yeah. Or you can vote PPC and also throw your vote away. Right? There's no split on the right.
Doug Ford, I'm more of a Rob Ford guy.
Me too. You heard him in our politics jingle there. R.I.P.
I think the ghost of Rob Ford on the ballot. Like, look out! That's how you get me to vote.
Can we start putting it? Can we put a write-in for dead people? Yeah. Rob Ford comes out with like 20% of the popular vote nationwide.
Oh God, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah. But conservatives did get more of the popular vote than ever before. It just was unfortunate for them that so many of the NDP voters consolidated behind the Liberals and gave them a huge chunk of popular vote.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't think anyone could have called that.
I think people saw it happening. I don't think they thought it would be that significant. Like there was even people right up to the day of saying like conservatives could kind of swoop in and still win this thing if enough ridings split between Liberal and NDP. But it seems like everybody really and the Bloc. A lot of Quebec voters went Liberal instead of Bloc, and we saw that with the Bloc losing seats.
It's I often wonder with the Bloc they basically exist to prop up the separatist movement, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So what do they think what do they think is going to happen? Like why do they get votes? I don't understand.
Well, so I think Blanchette, if you watched the English debate, he very much came out and was like, listen, I know I'm not going to win.
Yeah.
He predicted it was going to be Carney, and he's like, so it's my job now to try and do the best that I can for Quebec. And that may not necessarily be separation, but it's like, how can we get Quebec positive policies by working with the existing government? And it's a minority, so they're going to need... And he did that with Stephen Harper in his first minority government. He didn't. He wasn't the leader, but the Bloc worked a lot with Stephen Harper to get some bills passed and get some positive things for Quebec by supporting the minority government.
What was his soundbite? What was his clip about, this Canada's not even a real country? Did you see that?
I don't remember.
Oh, you didn't see that one? Oh, okay. We'll have to ask our doctor to weigh in here.
Yeah. Can we get a fake doctor, just like one of those YouTube doctors?
Definitely, that's what I'm thinking. Like Dr. Scott. like any doctor that just does a first name. Gold chain. He's got the white coat open. That's what we need. Did you ever go? Before legalization, did you ever go to one of the pot doctors?
I had seen one. There's one in Medicine Hat, and yeah, I was just like. That guy just you go in and you're like, yeah, my neck hurts. And he's like, it sounds like you could smoke weed about it. It was, I just imagined how it was in there and the number of people that I heard that had like medical marijuana cards from them was like very high.
I just think it's crazy. Like where did you turn like in your journey? You know, like you're going through med school, like you're an actual doctor. And you're like, you know what I want to do? I just want to fucking sell pot, you know, to go through all those. Like, I mean, I guess there's the angle that you really, really believe in it. You know, it's
yeah. And I mean, for a while, especially in Alberta, it was very hard to access medical cannabis. Like you go to your regular family doctor and they'd laugh you out of the office.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, you don't need to fucking smoke pot. Like, what are you talking about? And so I think there's like a niche there to fill. And if you're a doctor running a private clinic, like all doctors run their own clinics, right? Family doctors anyway. You know, you're like, okay, I'm going to lean into this niche where people are not finding service at their regular doctors. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
The first guy that came out and said that we're going to bring back different flavors of Zonic. You could have got me to vote then.
So the Conservatives kind of threw up that Hail Mary on the like literally on the day of voting or the day before.
They said that?
There was like they posted something about like get your hands off my Zin or something.
No. Their commercials were brutal.
They were. So the one that I remembered, it played incessantly during hockey games.
The two guys golfing.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Holy fuck, is this tone deaf? Right? Like take the two most stereotypical conservative voters.
Yeah.
Two white guys who obviously have the means to golf.
Oh, I had to pay for my kids' down payment on their house. Like, can you believe this? No.
And so like they're touching on some very hot issues, but like they used the worst representation of that issue, in my opinion. Like two people who have the means to golf in the middle of the day and give their kids tens of thousands of dollars for down payments. Like they're speaking to people who are already going to vote conservative.
Who are you advertising to? Right? You got these guys' votes.
I don't know. You're just like, all those people are going to vote for you anyway, right? Like, and here's the thing: is like the young voters, Gen Z, especially Gen Z men, heavily in favor of conservatives, right? Like, which is unusual, right? Historically speaking, the older you are, the more conservative you are. The younger you are, the more liberal you are, right? And that tends to change throughout life, or just party dynamics change, and what you once saw as liberal is now more of a conservative thing. Anyway,
I feel like people don't change. I feel like they stay the same, and then as things change,
society changes.
Yeah, no one's ever born a Republican. You know,
Right.
that's a Gillis bit, right? Like it's as time goes on, you stay the same, things change, and you're like, I don't like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to me. But it is weird that young voters in Canada, especially men, they largely support conservatives. And it makes sense. I mean, if you've been a young person in Canada the last 10 years, you've seen housing become more unaffordable and stuff like that. Like, obviously, you're going to be like, well, I'm not going to vote for the same people that have been in power. It makes sense to me but so why didn't they lean into that more? Like, why not get this traditionally like very liberal left-wing voter group and really cater to them? But instead they got into this weird stuff like, we're going to end wokeness. And it was just, it came off very Trumpian, and it was like, you guys had this in the bag.
It was fucking decided.
Yeah.
Like, that's the crazy thing about this election is the lead coming into it. Like, until Trudeau stepped down, like, it was inconceivable that the Liberals were going to have a run.
Liberals were potentially going to lose party status like the NDP just did.
Yeah. Like it was on no one's radar, and then they pull this switch. You have Poilievre, like you said, kind of just, I don't know, the rhetoric and the marketing campaign. Like, I guess obviously what happened in the South, like with America, that was the big shakeup, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's when people are like, hold on.
I don't want that.
Yeah. This is not okay.
Yeah. And so I think they should have shifted. I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but I feel like everybody saw that except the Conservative Party. Everybody saw, like, obviously nobody wants to be associated with Trump. And the Conservatives were like, well, no, we're just going to kind of stick to our guns, and we're going to go like, and their policies, they had some policies that are very much aligned with what Mark Carney promised. They both promised middle-class tax cuts, and they're both promising a lot of the same things. And then they just had to add in like some of this stuff that's just a little toxic, especially after Trump, like the wokeness. And it's like, how do you even define that? What do you define as woke, and how are you going to end it? Right? They said they were going to cancel funding to post-secondary institutions that promoted wokeness. Well, you need to define that before I go vote for that, right?
Yeah,
like,
what does that mean?
What does that mean?
What is fucking wokeness?
Is it Trump's like DEI, which just means like black people in position of power? Like, because that's what Trump has like decided DEI means.
It's spooky. It's scary.
So then, and then that was all fine. That was playing fine until Trump really got his hands into shit. And then people were like, oh, is that what's going to happen in Canada? Because I don't want that.
Yeah.
and they could not pivot. They were like incapable of pivoting. I don't understand why. They had it in the bag. They could have said, you know what? We need to just say, hey, we need to focus on Canada. We're going to push some of this stuff off to the side. We don't need that. That's not our focus right now. And just understand where the tides are going. And they could not do that. It was weird to me. And then, they came out with the 2 white guys golfing ad.
Yeah, that one played on repeat, and it was just, bad taste. I mean, but it worked here, like Alberta. Like, we fucking...
it was going to work no matter what. No.
Yeah. And then like I always love, I was more interested post-election in just, I go on Instagram and I just go through people's stories. And like a lot of people I know they're so worked up. It's the worst day of their lives.
Yeah.
To have another liberal government.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how come? Like explain that to me. What do you think's at stake here? How was Poilievre going to be that much better for us? I don't know. I really have no idea how people can be so fucking upset. Yeah. I think like in Canada we have such a narrow spectrum. Like a lot of the same stuff's gonna happen. You just said it. Like they're promising the same thing. Like these policies are identical in a lot of way. Like I don't really get it.
Yeah. When people are like, oh, well, liberals are just going to keep spending. Well, if you look at the budgets that all the parties put out, nobody is handling the deficit. Nobody. Like, that was not anybody's party platform. Everybody was going to be running a deficit. So it's like, to your point, why is this bothering you so deeply? Like, I understand that, there have been some challenges in Canada the last 10 years under a liberal government. I hazard to say that a lot of that is not necessarily due to Canadian government. Like in the grand scheme of things, we are such a small fish on the world stage. 40 million people in Canada, a tenth of the population of the United States, right? Like when the inflation happened, people want to pin it on the government of the day. Well, I'm sorry, nobody in Canada has control over inflation. Nobody does. It's like we are just along for the ride.
Yeah.
And housing costs and stuff like that. Like, all parties promised reducing immigration, right? But nobody said we're going to cancel it, right? Pierre Poilievre said he wanted to make sure that, like, I don't know how he was going to pull it off, but he wanted to make sure there's a direct flight to northern India every day from Pearson. Like that was because he was catering to that voter base.
Yeah.
Which actually does tend to lean conservative. And so, it was like, we can unpack it all, but I don't think it would have changed a whole lot, honestly. They're all so similar.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's why I don't vote. Don't even get out, just let it happen.
Yeah. Lay back and let it happen.
But like I think you nailed it. I think we are so susceptible to global influence, specifically like, America's hat. We're not really driving the bus in a lot of regards.
No.
And so, people are outraged, but these extraneous things that are influencing our situation right now in this province, like it has very little to do with federal policy. Like I don't understand what people thought would happen if Poilievre got in. Like he's just gonna immediately
wokeness would be over.
Wokeness is over. Look at all these fucking houses, okay? Like you're all getting raises. Like it's fucking. Yeah. It wasn't gonna go that way. I don't know.
No, it absolutely wasn't. And they all have housing building plans. I'll be interested to see if Carney's actually works. Like he very much wants to do a post World War II housing build, which developed like you go through Calgary, there's entire neighborhoods that are all post-war, those square houses.
Yeah.
Right. Like so we'll see if that comes to fruition. But here's the other thing is a lot of people are concerned about housing costs. That's a tricky one to tackle because here's the thing. 70% of people in Canada live in owner-occupied homes. So what you're effectively saying to 70% of people is the home that you live in, for me to make housing more affordable, I have to make the home that you live in your biggest asset less valuable.
Yeah.
That's a hard sell. You tell me that you're going to make my house less valuable? No, thanks.
Yeah, I'm good.
I like the value of my house. I like knowing that I could turn around and sell my house for a profit. Of course, I'm speaking from a position of somebody who owns a home. There's a chunk of people who can.
Oh.
Yeah. But and so here's where technically you live in an owner-occupied home.
Yeah.
Even though you don't own it.
I do not.
So that's where, there's some trickiness there, right? But it's not easy to solve all these problems, and I don't think anybody is going to.
There's so I have a
that's very nihilistic.
I have a couple friends that they're tin bashers, right? And so they do HVAC, and they're in these new builds. And one of my really good buddies, owner of the company, we were chatting the other day, and I was just lamenting. I was like, like houses, they're going crazy. We gotta move. We gotta figure something out. But like, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And when we sold, like, do you remember whatever a couple years ago? It was like, it's gonna crash. It's gonna crash. It's gonna crash. Never happened.
No, and probably never will at this point. Yeah. Like with the number of people sitting on the sidelines, any small housing correction is gonna get bought up.
So we were talking about potentially building and where to build. And I had been through. Are you familiar with Langdon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, my brother and I meet out there when we go ice fishing. That's kind of like the spot. We'll get together in Langdon, and there's just like all these fucking houses popping up everywhere. And so that was the conversation we're having. I was like, maybe I'll just go to like fucking Langdon. Maybe I'll go to Coaldale and I'll just fucking build a house. And he was like, what's going on right now with developers and like with new housing developments? He's like, it's the worst I've ever seen it. These homes that are getting built are horrible. They're horrible. He's like, I would never buy a house newer than 2005. And then he proceeds to open up. He's got a bunch of pictures because, he's in the house, he's doing his work, and they have to go through when they do HVAC. Every time they complete something, he has to take a photo of it, because what's going to happen is they're rushing these houses. They're trying to get them built so quickly that when other contractors come on site, if your stuff's in their way, they will just cut it out. Like, they've had homes where they get a phone call a year down the road and they're like, there's no heat in this room. And they have to go back, and some other contractor has literally just fucking chopped out the work because it was in their way. He's got pictures of framing going on top of the cribbage, and it's like, it's not lined up. And they're like, we'll just pack it with dirt. And like, Jesus. The supervisors, like, their incentive is to get things done on time. They're just pushing these houses out. And so basically what's happening is all these new builds are just like, they're trash. They're like of the poorest quality. Some of the stuff he was showing me, it blew my mind. And I was like, is this like just this one area? He's like, no, this is every new build. This is every build we're on. And these are $800,000 homes, $1 million homes. And it's just like this fucking rat race to get them out, sell them to a family, usually a multi-generational family, because that's kind of what's been happening. And as long as, whether it's, I don't get a cease and desist, but whether it's Sterling, Shane Holmes, whatever, like, their incentive is just to meet fucking deadlines. Just get these things pumped out. And like, to me, that's a big problem. Forget the cost of housing, forget like what's happening in the market. The homes that are being built right now are like of the poorest quality. They're not going to last. They're in a lot of ways, they're fucking dangerous. Like, that's spooky.
That is spooky. And so that speaks to like the solving of this problem is going to be far more complex than just increasing inventory.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you say, hey,
that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, we're going guns blazing, build as many houses as we can. You've only exacerbated the problem you just described.
You've created more issues.
And I've been reading that there is like a massive lack of skilled trades in Canada. Like, something like a shortage of 2.5 million people in the construction industry. And so how do you fill that? Like, you're talking about a problem that is going to take years to solve. You want more plumbers, you want more HVAC, right? All of this, that you need to get them through SATE. You need to get them through their apprenticeships, right? And then 4 or 5 years down the line, maybe they are skilled enough and qualified enough to legally start doing these jobs themselves, right? But until then, they've got to shadow, a journeyman or whatever, right? And so you can't just send them out and say, hey, go build this house, because they're not qualified. And the person to do that does not exist, right? And so, yeah,
meanwhile,
how are you going to build more houses? You're just going to do them shittier and shittier.
Let's defund these institutions too, because they're engaging in wokeness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think the solving the problem is going to be a whole lot more complex than, hey, we want to build more houses. Like, all the parties said that. Well, it's way more complex than that.
And that brings it right back. Like, so what are people so upset about? Like, what was? Like, they're not even talking about the fucking issues.
I saw some people. Well, maybe she's a listener, maybe she's not. I don't know.
We already lost our doctors. We lost a lot of listeners when I said I didn't vote.
A friend of mine, an acquaintance, will call her. Straight up said, like, I can't look my children in the face, and I was like, that's fucking so dramatic. First of all, your child is a baby. What do you mean? Like, your kid has no concept of what's going on. And
I can't look my children in the face.
Yeah, like, because of what other people have voted, because they exercise their democratic right. Oh. And that's so dramatic. Oh, yeah. So much stuff popped up immediately after Monday of, like, I had a couple buddies be like, here's a link. Like, let's fucking leave this country. Yeah.
Like, we need to separate.
Straight up. If Alberta separated from Canada,
yes,
I'm going full IRA. I'm bombing out white Dodge Rams. I'm Canadian. I do not want to be a part of an independent Alberta.
Everybody with a fucking Calvin and Hobbes sticker pissing on something, like, you're gonna get got.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you.
I don't want to be part of an independent Alberta. I don't want to be American. I'm Canadian. I think that that's such a loser attitude. Take your ball and go home.
Such a fucking
and
loser
I can
attitude.
appreciate what some people feel, and I have thought about this as well myself, where we've just had 10 years of a liberal government that has been in many ways unsuccessful. We've had some problems. No denying that. Now, Carney is different than Trudeau, but it does feel like, you're sitting there watching these results come in and you're like, did we just basically do the same fucking shit? Remains to be seen, right? Carney is different, but at the end of the day, it's still the same party. A lot of those cabinet ministers might be the same, right? Did we just push Poilievre off to the side, the Conservatives off to the side, because of this fear of Trump to just do the same shit? I've thought about that, and it might prove to be true. I'm not so dramatic that I'm like, we need to leave the fucking country. An independent Alberta would be the most unsuccessful state on the world stage. Like, we'd be Somalia with oil sands. Well, seriously. So you could become an independent Alberta. You have
Smith is leaning into it.
Yeah, but you have no access to Tidewater. You're gonna sell your oil back to Canada? What you were doing already? You're gonna pipe it down to the U.S. What you were doing already? But now you're an independent country of 4 million people instead of a part of a larger Commonwealth of 40 million people. It makes no sense to me.
It'll never happen. I mean,
we hope. How many people said Trump would never get a second term?
Oh, dude, yeah, that whole timeline, that whole era. I mean, I remember when he was first running.
People were like, "This is never gonna happen."
It was an LOL. Yeah. It was like, yeah, right. This guy, The Apprentice, like, fuck off, dude. Sells steaks. Look at his mini hands. Like, there's not a fucking chance he's gonna be the president. And then when he, they did that experiment, he lost, stopped the steal. I was like, oh God, thank God that's over. To even consider that we'd have this like
run it back,
bumbling, fumbling, fucking Biden administration that kind of just, I'm gonna talk out of my ass here because I am not well versed on American policy or basically anything that goes on that's not sensationalized in the media. That's all I pay attention to, right? But he basically comes in, tries to repair some of the damage from the Trump administration because everything was just getting repealed, and then they're back, baby. And in the first 100 days, he's just like, I'm gonna fucking use some crazy old wartime era fucking emergency act and just start signing executive orders, and I'm gonna fucking like start deporting fucking moms, like it's so insane. It's so insane what's happening in the United States. Yeah.
And so, the crazy thing down there is like the rule of law is meaningless. They were ordered by the Supreme Court, which has a conservative lean, to bring that guy back from El Salvador,
and they just said no.
They're like, no,
it's impossible.
And Trump literally yesterday was like, we know where he is. I could bring him back. I don't want to. So he's like straight up in contempt of court. The Supreme Court. There is no higher court. So when there is no laws and there's nobody that apparently wants to enforce these laws because the president is king now, that's spooky, right? And so then it's like, and Poilievre got lumped in with that. And so I think part of the post-mortem here has to be like, okay, we need to like rebuke that. Like, that is obviously not what people want. People have...
That's what this election was. It was a rebuke.
Yeah. People have an economic concerns, right? They have economic concerns about housing, about inflation, about whatever, the slowing rate of growth, the slowing rate of, wage growth, that kind of stuff. And we were still to the very last day of the election talking about wokeness. And of course that's going to get you lumped in with Trump. And then you start, whether it's fair or not, you start doing these imagination leaps. And you're like, okay, so if they're deporting people to El Salvador and ignoring the Supreme Court Could that happen to me in Canada? Unlikely. I don't think Poilievre is Trump. I think that was probably a slightly unfair.
Yeah.
But you can understand how people can do that imagination leap when you're using a lot of the same rhetoric. When some of your party staffers and MPs have photos floating around of them wearing Make America Great Again hats. You can do this leap, and it doesn't take a huge amount of imagination to get to that point.
Because we've seen it now.
Yeah. And we've seen the consequences. And we're like, oh, we don't want that.
I liked his take. I liked Poilievre's take on energy, like with regards to the carbon tax and like emissions. He's like, you know what? Canada does not need to be beholden. We don't need to handcuff ourselves and put these emission caps that's going to slow production, slow down our economy when, over in India, they're burning fucking coal.
Yeah.
We're talking about like a global environment. We are producing clean energy. Our energy is the best energy. And we should open the cages, like let it run wild, and people will buy from us. And our practices are so much safer. Our energy is so much cleaner that globally, some of those countries that are doing things that are like actually horrible for the environment, maybe they buy from us. Yeah. So like, let's get rich. And then like as a whole, as a planet, we are going to reduce emissions.
Yeah.
And I feel like I was like, I remember I watched that. He had I can't remember where he was. But I was like, oh, this guy's talking a lot of sense. That makes like that South Park, like this is making insanely good sense to me. Like I'm with it. I'm down with that. Right.
Yeah.
I didn't like the social agenda is the one that always gets in the way.
Well, and Canadians naturally are a little more left wing than Americans are. And so when you try and dip your toes into that Americanized style of, right-wing rhetoric, social rhetoric, it doesn't play as well, especially when, Trump is down there doing whatever the fuck he wants. But, the other thing, though, is I think there's also a voter information issue here. All around the world, right? So, for example, Suncor CEO just came out yesterday.
The open letter?
Day before. Yeah. And said, we need an industrial carbon tax. And the reason being is that there are many jurisdictions around the world, the EU being the biggest one of them all, that require exporters, so people that they're importing from, to have some type of price on carbon. So if Canada completely gets rid of the industrial carbon tax, suddenly you cannot trade with the EU, which is going to be an important market if Trump keeps up this tariff bullshit.
That was the key to the election. That was whoever's going to come out and say, we got to diversify. You can find those old clips of like Mulrooney debating and talking about like, we are way too locked in with America. Yeah. This is a problem. There are countries that want our shit, and we just have closed those markets because we haven't developed it.
It's the easy way out.
It's the easy way out.
You got the biggest economy in the world right beside you. They want your shit.
Yeah.
Until they don't.
And now
it's a problem.
And now they fucking don't. And it's like, what are we going to do? It's like, well, we have options. We should have had options. We should be developing.
And it's going to take years now. It's going to take years until you can actually get a pipeline out east to get oil and gas to the EU. They're still fucking buying from Russia.
What?
Yeah, they're paying the extra cost to buy oil and gas from Russia because there is nowhere in the EU that can properly supply them with everything they need. They can get a lot from the Middle East, but they're still getting large amounts from Russia. There was just a deal that just ended between Russia and Germany, but up until that point, like literally just weeks ago, they were getting a huge amount of their natural gas from Russia.
I do feel like Canada could be like one of the richest countries.
Oh, we have the resources.
We have the resources. I feel like it's just,
how do you get them out of here?
Yeah.
So there needs to be an industrial carbon tax. Suncor CEO has said that. I imagine he knows his shit better than either of us, and better than the average voter in Canada. The consumer carbon tax is gone. Now, of course, there's all the conspiracy theories that could come back any day now, but it's gone for now. And that was an interesting one. Carney kind of swept the feet out from under Poilievre on that one. It was axe the tax. And then like Carney was in for 2 days and he's like, no more tax.
That was actually a baller move, honestly.
He took away a huge talking point.
Yeah, like that's exactly it. He's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Done.
Sounds good. Vote for me.
Yeah.
What? That was my thing.
But all the signs we made.
All right, get those fucking old guys out here and show them shanking balls.
Yeah, like I didn't even hit it very well, did he?
Oh, that's a change. Oh, yeah, God. Tone deaf.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on the Canadian election?
Man, here's a thought. I value you so much. You were so prepared today. You got notes. You got pages. You're so well read. That was my fear. That was my fear of doing the pre-election, you know, because you don't come to Rad Dad Redemption Podcast to get the info. You come here to get the jest, right?
The summarizations,
you know, our input on it. And then like I partied so hard last night. I knew coming over here, I was like, okay, I'm going to pretend to be a pirate a little bit on the podcast. That's about yarg. That's my writing. So I really hope Dex is prepared. So my thoughts are, I probably should have voted. And and I appreciate you. I really do. You fucking carried this one big time. How about you? What are, in summation, what are we in for the next 4 years, man? Like, what do you see happening?
Well, it could be less than 4.
Okay.
Right? It's a minority. So they could, I mean, that would require, I don't think the NDP wants an election anytime soon. They've got to figure out a new leader. They don't have official party status now. Like, they probably want to bide their time a little bit. So, but, you know, you could have, if they find that Carney's not playing ball, the Bloc and the Conservatives and the NDP could all say, hey, we're going to vote of non-confidence and we're going back to the polls. Which is frustrating, man, because I do feel like there's an element. My father-in-law says this all the time. He's like, you know who's going to get my vote? The guy that, or girl or woman, the person that gets something done. Yeah.
You know, like that's what I'm voting for. I'm voting for action. And, you know, a minority government, it's a challenge. It's going to make it harder to get things fucking done. And that's frustrating.
Yeah.
I blue, red, whomever, I don't give a shit. We have a real crisis right now with America. We have a real energy crisis. We have a housing crisis. There's places in Canada that are like low key super dangerous all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You know, like there's shit going on. I need someone in power that is doing things. That sounds so superficial and so fucking lame, but I do mean it. Like, I just want these people to fucking get together and govern. Like, I want them in session. I want them looking at shit. I want them passing shit, and I want stuff to move forward. Like, that's what's important to me.
I do wonder if the Conservatives will play ball a little bit. I think it would make a lot of sense for them to work with Carney on some things that they are aligned on, because they need to kick that brand of Trump.
Yeah.
Right. They need to be seen as collaborative, not combative. And they need to, I think there's a few things that they could probably agree on. And then when they do go back to the polls, whatever that may be, I don't think anybody in Canada wants to be going back to the polls within at least 18 months. But when they do go back to the polls, if they can say, hey, we did work with Carney and we got this, and this done. These are some wins that you can also attribute to the Conservative Party of Canada. And if that works for the voters, then they might win next time. But yeah, nobody wants to go vote right now. It's like, let's give it a chance and see some shit happen, hopefully. It's kind of like tentative, I guess would be my summary, is like, how do we, are we going to get more of the same shit for the last 10 years? Who knows? A lot of people seem to think we will, and they're like doom and gloom about it, and they want to be their own country.
Fucking stupid.
I think Carney is different. Stephen Harper loved him. He was a Stephen Harper Bank of Canada appointee. You know, he was there during the 2008 financial crisis.
He's got the fucking resume.
He knows his shit. He's an economist. He knows his shit. If there's anybody that you would want running the country at this point, I would say it's an economist. But
it's not a career politician, fucking Melvin, like Poilievre. I'll say it.
I wonder if they move on from Poilievre. Here's my thought. Hindsight 2020. Yes, whatever. I think if they were not so eager to replace O'Toole after that snap election where they got railroaded.
Yeah.
Trudeau saw it's middle of COVID. Nobody wants to change at this point. I'm going to run and get another mandate.
Which is brilliant.
It was brilliant on his part, right?
Yeah.
But they got railroaded a little bit. O'Toole was new Conservative leader, didn't have a lot of name recognition. You don't know who this guy is. And then they turfed him. And I thought he would have been a really good moderate that probably would have held on to that lead that they had built up over the Liberals. Whereas Poilievre, he had that great lead, and then it disappeared with the kind of pushback against Trump, right? So
I think it is interesting that they're doubling down on him. Like I would have thought.
I feel like we've seen his high water mark.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I felt like that would have probably, and I'm sure it is happening. I'm sure those conversations are starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see somebody a little more moderate. You saw Jason Kenney on CBC on election night. He feels like he's jostling for something.
Yeah. Jay Ken, Hot Boy Summer. I do honestly. Here's a hot take. I've contributed very little to this conversation, but I feel like we will see that. We will see that play out in real time over the next couple of years. Jason Kennedy, fucking federal conservative leader.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or at least making a run at it.
Making a run, yeah.
Yeah. I could see him. It would be interesting to see him, Doug Ford, and Poilievre kind of duke it out.
And arguably, he's more qualified. You know?
I think so. He
held
was
high
in
office.
the Harper cabinet.
Yeah.
I think Doug Ford, for all his lumps, like I know a lot of people in Ontario that don't vote for him, don't love him, but he is that true progressive conservative. He would be somebody that would appeal to Canada. He's obviously won Ontario several times with a majority. You need to win Ontario if you want to win an election. We saw that. Like, yeah, you can run the table in Alberta, but there's only 4 million people in Alberta, right? It's like say, oh, we won Nunavut. Great job. There's 1 seat in Nunavut, right? Like, you need to win Ontario, and so maybe they look at a guy like Doug Ford. Who knows?
Ghost of Rob Ford.
Rob Ford. Doug Ford with co-prime minister, deputy prime minister, ghost of Rob Ford.
I want to live in that timeline. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
great episode.
You know what? I appreciate you. Was there anything else? We did the mailbag. We did the post-mortem.
You want to talk sports?
Oof, I do.
Just to wrap it up, funsies, because we've been talking about the death of civilization.
Yeah. So anyway, Coleman, right? I just have this feeling. In my gut that no one has had more goals called back than him ever in the history of the NHL. It's just a.
He's had a lot. Okay, we could pull up the stats and whatever.
Someone did pull up all the stats for you.
He had several just at the end of this season while the Flames were making that push. He had that one against the Oilers. Remember in the Battle of Alberta playoffs.
Okay, now you're talking. Now you're talking sports. How about those fucking Oilers?
So my wife got mad at me. She obviously runs a lot of, has a lot of restaurants under her in Alberta that benefit greatly from Oilers playoff
Everyone
hockey.
benefits when the Oilers are winning. Have you seen that fucking downtown? Like, it's worth millions.
I have been through downtown Edmonton, and honestly, they could burn the whole thing to the ground.
Not Ice District. Not anymore. Back at Rexall days, yeah, that was scary. That was like, get your popcorn, don't get stabbed.
I don't know. I was in Ice District a few years ago. To be fair, it wasn't during a hockey game. It was during the soccer game at Commonwealth, and so I made it back to Ice District, and it was high level. It was dead. But the only thing I saw was like 2 homeless guys having a full out brawl in the middle of the street, and I was like, "This is Edmonton personified."
Okay, I'd rather hang out in Edmonton than Vancouver. All right.
Okay, well that's fair.
Yeah, in terms of safety. So that was like the Oilers have had a weird season. They've had like a really weird season, and they're battling injuries. We still don't have a defined defensive core. We still don't have...
Stuart Skinner sucks.
Stuart Skinner's awful. He is. I bet you Joe called Elliot Friedman my boy. I fucking hate him. Fucking lumpy penguin son of a bitch. But he actually said the other day, he's like, I bet you that's the last time Stuart Skinner puts on wears an Oilers jersey on the ice. Like, this is the end. And I believe that,
But they've played so much better in... after he got turfed to the bench,
Pickett's 4-0.
But they defensively they played so much better. Like, there's been fewer shot attempts against, fewer high danger chances
with 5 defensemen. Right?
Yeah, they need Ekholm.
He's need Ekholm. He's got to come back. Emberson's done a good job. Bouchard defensively as a defenseman, just the worst.
He's dog shit, but he puts up points.
He's got one eye. He's a cyclops. He fucking can't see out there. But he's scoring goals, and he was the difference maker.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's electric to see a team like Edmonton that people are already counting out do the reverse sweep. Now we get to go to Vegas, still on the road. That'll be a tough series.
You see that choke job last night?
Fucking the Avs. I was calling.
Choked a 2-goal lead.
I wanted them to move on. Landeskog, that is a great story.
Yeah.
Miss 1,000 days.
Come back for the playoffs.
Come back and produce and score. It actually made me think, same with Kane, not the same not the same storyline at all, not the same triumphant return. But when these players are out, when they're on the LTIR, like it's not like they're not working their dicks off.
Well, they're trying to get healthy.
They're in a lab. Like it's always weird to me. It's like, oh, he's been assigned to the AHL. Like he's going to play a couple tune-up games. They come back and they're effective. And I'm like, what are they? Like when they're off, like they are, I don't know, compound V. Like they're just getting juiced up. They're absolutely.
That's what Ekblad did.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew that actually coming into the playoffs, like the Oilers, we almost fucking missed it. Like that's how bad we were playing towards the end. And I was like, when we get into the first round, it's a new look team. It's a team of veterans that have gone to Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals, and we have a lot of players that are coming back. Like, and what you saw in those first couple games is getting used to those pairings, getting used to those lineups. We hadn't played with those combinations. We hadn't played with 5D. We got rid of Stuart Skinner. Thank God for Pickard, 33 years old, 34 years old, just like having a real Tim Thomas. Like, yeah, I'm actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? And now they're clicking. Like, I'm excited.
You know what the craziest stat that I heard?
What?
So Draisaitl had his 100-point year.
Yeah.
So that's 6 now in his career. The list of people who've had 6+ 100-point seasons, you can count on your fingers.
Messier, Gretzky.
I think Lemieux was on the list.
Like it's small.
It's very. You could count on your fingers. 2 of them on that list actively currently play for the Edmonton Oilers. McDavid and Draisaitl.
So good.
Which is fucking crazy.
So good.
Which is why I have like a little bit of like animosity towards them, because I'm like, man, they like lucked into this by sucking so bad. They lucked into like literally 2 generational players playing at the same time. So I am a hater, I'll admit, but every win that they get gets us a little closer to cashing in that ticket in Vegas. So I'm trying to stay positive.
Dude, you mentioned that last night, and I was like, this could be a dream come true.
Yeah,
that is the reason for you to root for them, because there's no way. I said to Meg, like, hey, there's 237 USD on the line here. This is like 8 million. Australian dollars.
We can retire off this.
We have.
Would you love to see like all Canadian final, like Oilers Leafs?
I would. Yeah, I mean, get out of my head. Oilers Leafs would be so good for the sport and so good for both those franchises. You know, the Leafs. You know, I was talking to Aaron about this last night. There's so much noise around them. You know, like
always.
The media is so brutal.
Yeah.
You know, like Ottawa is a good team. They're a scrappy team. You know. Brady Tkachuk, as much as I don't like him, you know, he's like the fucking Goonies monster, whatever.
He looks like Jamil Giovanni.
Yeah, fuck him. Yeah, he's a total loser. But like, he's passionate, he's good, and they wanted to fucking keep that series alive to give their fans something back. Like they just squeaked in, you know, and they put up a good couple games there. But there was never a question in my mind that the Leafs were not going to win that series.
Yeah, it's just the history. Everybody gets a little anxiety about like,
they
are they going to
lost
blow it again?
2 games.
I know.
And people are like, oh, here we go. Like classic Leafs implosion. They're such fucking losers. They're core. They don't give a shit. You know, it's hard to look like Matthews and have anyone believe that you care about anything. You know, honestly, you got George Costanza as your best fucking goal scorer. It's so, I hate them. I hate him. He's a wiener, but they're a good team. They're a dangerous team. Who are they playing next? They playing Carolina?
Florida.
Oh,
which is, so I feel like whoever comes out of that series, I feel like has a nice line to the finals.
Florida is sensational. They are like they are such a good fucking team.
Yeah.
That'd be hard for anybody. So I don't know. I could see it. I'm willing it into existence.
I was talking to Aaron about that yesterday as well. And he was like, I'm scared for them to get to the finals against the Oilers, because if they lost to the Oilers, that would almost be more painful than just if they lost before that.
I'd love to see 2 Canadian teams, though.
I would. If nothing else, to finally, like, I know, and it's such a stupid narrative. I hate the narrative that, like, oh, Canada hasn't won a cup in forever. It's like 65% of the league is Canadian.
Yes.
So, like, Canada wins the cup every year.
Canada wins every year.
You know, but I would love to see that narrative die, even though, like, arguably the second best player on the Oilers is German and the best player on the Maple Leafs is American.
I think when the Kings won in 2011, they had 18 Canadian skaters or some shit like that.
They were very Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
great team, by the way. I always
dynasty.
I always get a kick out of Edmonton and the Kings, because for me it's a win-win. I want Edmonton always. I always want Edmonton to advance. But if the Kings had moved on, I was like, they're fucking Kemper was doing shit that you haven't seen since Jonathan Quick. Like he was elite.
Yeah.
Elite.
Yeah.
Was it game?
I mean, they almost went up 3-0 in that series.
Yeah.
If Byfield could have just cleared that fucking puck off the boards instead of trying to like skate it out or whatever he did.
Totally different.
Totally different series.
Yeah, he's a young kid. I think it was game 5. Kemper had 45 saves.
Yeah. They're just peppering him.
Fucking nuts. Yeah. And the Jays are 500, whatever. Yeah. You watch any baseball?
No, like I'm not a huge baseball guy. I will keep up with baseball, and when it gets to the postseason, then I will start watching. Baseball is one of those sports to me. It's like they play so many games, and it's like, man, like you could watch a Jays game every day, and I know many people do. My mother-in-law loves the Jays. She will not miss a Jays game. That's a lot of baseball to commit yourself to watching.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and especially in the AL East, like it's you got the Sox and you got the Yankees, and they're always so good. They're just like so bankrolled that it's just like you have to be so fucking good in the MLB to make to the postseason. That like, yeah, how can I commit to 162 games knowing that you're not going to play a single playoff game?
Yeah,
and that's tough. But I turned it on last night and I was just making the burgers and shit. Or actually, it was in the afternoon, and Bichette fucking homered the first pitch of the game.
Yeah,
and I was like, the Jays have bats. Like
they
they're
do
exciting.
Have bats. I was reading an article. They have bats, but they were so bad on defense the last few years, and they've had some issues with pitching, although that's gotten better. But they almost went too far the other way. Like they were like, it was like we have to outscore teams, and then they were like, no, like we need to balance,
which
it
makes
more.
for exciting baseball, right?
Right, and they're like, we need to balance it more, and now they're finding it's a little bit of a struggle with scoring runs. Like they're one of the worst teams in the MLB for scoring.
They're like the Oilers. I always say this about the Oilers: when they win in extraordinary fashion, and when they lose, lose.
It's ugly.
It's ugly. It's Oilers do the same thing. Yeah. Like they lose like no one else can lose.
Yeah, and so actually, that's a very apropos comparison because like the Oilers can outscore their problems.
Yeah,
you got two of arguably the best players to ever play the game. They can outscore their problems.
Yeah,
but if they can't do that, then it's bad.
It's bad,
and that's like the Jays too. You get the bats going, you can outscore any problems you have on the field. But if they're not going, then it's oof.
What's going on in Buffalo?
The NFL draft just happened.
Yeah, we drafted a fast kid. I know that.
Yeah, on cornerback, everybody's saying he's too small, but he's fast, which is how they always get beaten.
Yeah,
is deep. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Nothing big because they were drafting so late, right? So it's like all these big names were off the board, and they signed some depth wide receivers, but I don't think offense was the problem there.
No,
it's defense. They got to figure out how to stop Mahomes. Right? Like all roads go through Kansas City if you want to get to the Super Bowl.
Fuck, I hate that. When people say, I hear that all the time. That is,
it's cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah, you said that. I've heard that. Just like everyone I talk to. Yeah, all roads go through Kansas City.
Actually, with the NFL draft, so very interesting. Second overall pick was Travis Hunter.
Okay.
He plays both sides of the ball. He's like one of the first players to ever be drafted in the NFL that plays both defense and offense. Wide receiver and cornerback. And he straight up said, he's like, I'm not going to play for any team that won't play me on both sides. Whereas like a lot of teams are like, are you going to be able to hold up for a whole NFL season playing like literally 100%?
Yeah, tough league, tough job.
And so the Jags took him they traded up to get him at second overall. So it'll be interesting to see. He won the Heisman last year. Like he's like this talent that you can't compare to anybody because nobody's ever played both sides of the ball at such a high level. Like he was literally the number 1 ranked wide receiver and the number 1 ranked cornerback going into the draft. So that'll be interesting. And then Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that was funny. I want to know what he did.
Apparently he just did not take the interview seriously. He just thought that he was a shoo-in to get drafted, second quarterback off the board. And even the Browns that eventually took him traded up to take a quarterback before him.
Yeah.
Which is such a Browns move. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know if that was like a humbling exercise.
They had him in the first round. Everyone did.
He was the second ranked quarterback.
And they picked him up in the, what was it, the 3rd or the 5th?
It was the 5th.
It was the 5th.
And so the amount of money that he lost, because they get paid based on their draft position and they've got rights based on their draft position. The amount of money that he lost is in the millions of dollars by falling from the 1st to the 5th. So people are saying he bombed interviews and a lot of teams just completely took him off the board. They were like, we're not going to take you. Of course, there's a limited number of teams that even have a need for a quarterback.
Do you think Dad was the issue? I think it was like a LeVar Ball type
Deion
situation.
Sanders did the same thing when he came into the league. He was very much like overconfident. But here's the thing: is he was a generational talent.
Yeah.
Right. So like people were willing to overlook.
You're talking about playing both sides of the ball. Didn't he play in the MLB too? Like, wasn't he? Was that?
I think he did.
Yeah.
And Bo Jackson is the big one that did that too. But
yeah,
Deion Sanders. There's a big story about him. He like had a playoff game in Atlanta. And then he flew up to go play like later that day or the next day, but he flew overnight to go play baseball because the baseball season had started.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. So, or I can't remember how that went. Or the baseball season was just finishing. I don't know what was happening. It would have had to be baseball playoffs and start of NFL season. That's what it was. Yeah. So, yeah. Talk about generational athlete, and then he probably rubbed off on his kid, and his kid was like, "I'm also great.
I'm brawny, James."
Yeah. So
yuck. They got wiped.
Yeah.
Did you watch any NBA?
I'm not a big NBA guy, especially if the Raptors aren't playing. I'm like, nah.
That's fair. I just thought it was cool. You had Anthony Edwards, just like T-Wolf's absolute drama, and he was just like, I don't give a shit who I'm playing. LeBron is nothing to me. And then they took that series pretty handily.
It was crazy though, because like it felt like the Lakers were loaded up with Luka.
Yeah,
and it was like it just felt like, okay, well now they're gonna make a huge run.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure they thought the same.
Yeah. And then it didn't happen.
What's coming up for us? We missed the last stand up. I was on the 26th. You're at the wedding. I was in Mexico.
Yeah. I forget when the next one's coming up. Let me look it up here really quickly. We'll shut out Hubtown
because I think we're gonna get back on that. Dex has got they've been getting guys out. They've been getting a lot of guys.
Yeah, I think they had 10 last one. So
the competition's heating up, and so
Dex I missed out on a whole week of points.
Yeah, so we're looking for a triumphant return.
Although apparently, I'm told there was people in the crowd asking where I was. They were like,
"I got texts. I got legit texts."
So apparently I'm a big deal.
A huge deal.
Next one is May 24th, Saturday, May 24th.
All right. Are we going?
I will be there.
I will be there then.
Watch my wife come back and be like, actually, we have plans. That's what happened last time. She was like, like you said, you're going to be there April 26th and like you're emceeing your cousin's wedding. And I was like, fuck.
Oh, the amount of times I say I'm like, I'm 100% in. And then my wife's like, no, you aren't.
you have commitments.
The shared calendar that like I update you on everything I do. Like, yeah, take a look at it.
we have that.
You're
and I
fucking
don't,
busy.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm there for the 24th.
And men's night's starting up. So we're going to get golf in. We chatting about that.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah. And then I don't want to promise anything. But we've been talking about a little pirate pig roast. We've been talking about maybe doing a Rad Dad pig roast.
Yeah. Like a Rad Dad luau.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, a luau Hawaiian theme?
Yeah.
Dude, okay. So a little less of a formal event. We're not going to try to do a live podcast. We've learned our lesson. We're not going to deal with sound. We're also not going to I don't know what we thought. we don't tell a lot of jokes. Like we're funny in conversation, but it's not a live show.
I'm looking at we're an hour and a half in.
Yeah,
that's a long show.
What was it? Your grandma, your nana, being like, "I listened. It was long-winded." Yeah. All right, Nana, if you made it this far, thank you.
Yeah,
you beautiful soul. But look forward to a little info on the pig roast. Check us out, specifically Dex at Hubtown for comedy night, and send us an email. It's nice to have mailbags. Thank you to Joe, and thank you to Nikki, and thank you to Poilievre.
Created a lot of content.
We'll catch you guys soon.
Bye.
Yarg.